Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, how are you doing on this chilly December evening? To be honest, I don't even know for sure that it's chilly outside. I haven't left my house today because I am a seasonally depressed weirdo. And it gets dark out at 2:57 p.m. on the East Coast right now. So, I'm just assuming it's cold out. But you know where it's not cold? In my heart. It's actually burning hot there because I have a history of heart disease in my family, and I'm also fucking hyped about the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 10-3. Let's go! What is up, guys? As you can see, I'm here with my loyal co-hosts, both at the same time this week. Mr. Steel Flyers, of course, and Mr. Gage Ryan Video. How you doing, boys?
Howdy.
Hey.
Oh man, I have to agree. I think this is going to be en fuego.
Yeah, I'm buzzing. I might have just had a pot of coffee. I think everybody can tell. I've expressed many times on this show that I am hopelessly caffeine addicted, and I hope it reflects when I drink a bunch of coffee before I got on the show, because I just made a French roast of organic beans from the co-op like half an hour ago, and I've had 2 full cups with a little bit of oat milk.
Yeah.
And I'm flying. So I'm ready to sit and talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Gage, what do you got? You look like you got something.
How do you coffee guys do it? Like, I don't understand. Like,
Yeah.
I love me a good cappuccino. I love cappuccinos. And like,
Sure.
if there's like a 50-50 kind of an easy, like a latte kind of thing, I can try it. But just coffee, I don't get it. I don't know. It tastes like hot ass. What's the secret to? Like,
I'm not. I don't drink coffee neither, so I'm not
Yeah,
a coffee person. I love the smell of it,
Yeah.
but that's it.
I mean, I'm just a fan. I like it. I like that I like bitter things. I love like dark chocolate, things in that world. And I think as an Italian, it's also a very like cultural thing, kind of like wine or whatever. Like, I just like, it's a very like, you go to your grandparents' house after like the thing, and there's a big pot of coffee and cake and cannolis and all that kind of stuff. And I know that's not uniquely Italian, but I think it's just, it's something that got ingrained in me from an early day, and I just,
But I'm not I mean, like I get where you're coming from because, our Italian side, it was. I mean, as a little kid, one of the things that we did. I mean, we're not even talking Steelers here, but one of the things we did was have coffee at night
yeah.
with our tasty cake crimpets, right?
Yeah.
So we would get right as a little. My grandmother would make us these little cups of coffee in the old Maxwell House coffee
Yep.
cups, the old ones with the saucers and everything,
Yeah,
right? And coffee, and then we'd get one little butterscotch crimpet for each of us. I mean, we were just 5 and 6 and years old. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, it's my thing. I don't Kevin the Elder God's in there talking about people who drink black coffee. I can drink black coffee. That's not my preferred, though. I like a little splash of half and half. I've transitioned more to oat milk now because I'm old and my body's stopping to work. So, you know,
All right.
but now that we've got the show started with tons of digestive talk, I'm going to go over to you, Gage, first. How are you feeling about the Pittsburgh Steelers after their 10-3 ascension? I've seen a more tepid reaction from most Steelers fans than I frankly thought I would, and so I'm curious how you're feeling.
No, I feel good. I feel better about the Steelers at this point in the year, or at this current point in the year, than I do a lot of other seasons past. That's just not something like to say that I'm confident in the defense, confident in the offense, and confident in our special teams.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that there's not really a mass amount of negative that I can give you in any of the three possible directions is, like I said, better than I can say most years. But also, I'm enjoying the ride, man. This isn't one of those things where I said during the 11-0 run where I was like, enjoy it while you have it, because what goes up usually has to come down.
Right.
Whereas I think that with this year, this is more of a I'm enjoying it because A, it wasn't what I expected, and B, I have no idea how far it's going to go.
Right.
That's great.
Cool.
Couldn't even exacerbate those sentiments any better, because look, enjoy the ride while you can. It may be fleeting, it may not be, who knows. Look, here's the whole kind of weirdness of all this about this season, and that was we started off with Strawberry Fields Forever for the first 6 games. And then, and as a winning team, Tomlin said, boop, all right.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson's healthy. Boop, here you go. It's your team now. You're the one wearing the little Darth Vader thing on your jersey. Get to stepping.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean,
too.
What's that?
And it was seamless too. Like there really
It
weren't a lot of
was.
bumps in it.
Yeah.
It wasn't just seamless. It was like, I mean, I remember hearing you say this quite a few times in the shows since Russell Wilson has been in. That you've done. By the way, folks, hop on over to patreon.com/5SMU and drop $4 and $7 in the bucket. Do it.
Helps us out big time. Do it.
Anyway, but you see what I'm saying? You've said that quite a few times in the shows now that, hey, we're getting quarterback play, good quarterback play.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you know, we were talking about, hey, we're winning, Justin Fields is running, blah, 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 blah. Next thing you know, it's, hey, moon balls.
Yeah.
And,
well, you know,
hey,
I do want to say,
touchdown.
I agree. I mean, it's been transformative, and you know, this has been the best run of quarterback play we've seen in Pittsburgh since before Ben's elbow. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. It's not even close. He's got 12 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions. I mean, we just, you know, for even the good parts of the last 5 years, it was still like moving a boulder. I mean, it was never easy. But I do think it's important to say though that 2 things can be true. And I still think Justin Fields was playing winning football for this team, and I think that we might not have been 10-3, but if he just was the starting quarterback this year, do I think we'd still probably be a wild card team and probably sitting at 8-4 or something like that?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I think we would. I mean, I was still impressed by Justin Fields. It's just that I'm more impressed by Russell Wilson and his sort of redemption arc that we're seeing now. And I think for the first time, you have a guy that like consistently on 3rd and 9, you're not scared of what's going to happen. In fact, you're hopeful that you're like, maybe I'll make a big play. But worst case scenario, he's probably not going to turn it over, and maybe we'll punt it with our freaking monster punter who all he does is blast bombs. That punt he had at the end of that game was nuts. It was like a 70-yard line drive that bounced off Tony's face mask. It might have bounced him right out of the NFL. Did you see he got cut today, by the way? That poor guy.
Really?
Yeah. He's a terrible football player. Just one of those guys that, like, he's never on your team, but anytime you see him, you're like, oh, he just did something stupid. Like,
Jameis Winston.
Yes. No, I mean, I think everything you're saying is you both are saying is valid. I just I continue to be so surprised now, having done this for 6 years now. Um, just that the reaction, the Steelers fan base reaction, isn't always what I expect. That's all. It felt to me like listening to sports radio and stuff on Monday, like Pittsburgh, the fan in Pittsburgh and stuff. Just listening to people, it just felt very much like people were like, yeah, this was kind of like a clunky whatever win. And I'm like, it was a team you lost to 2 weeks ago, and they were winning 27-7. I mean, it was a blowout for all intents and purposes, with one garbage time touchdown that made it look like it wasn't a blowout. And like, how far have we come where it was like last year to even score 13 points was a miracle, and now all of a sudden we're looking 27 points in the face and being like, whatever. I don't know. It's not lost on me.
That's what we do, man. I've said it a million times, and I'll probably say it a million more. Pittsburgh Steelers fans are freaking miserable. It's just how it is, and we all can be that way, and it is what it is. But I mean, listen, man, being 10-3, someone in the chat mentioned, and I low-key kind of agree, is like I don't really feel like we've been beaten yet. Like, we are still a botched snap. Oh my God, I'm going to say it again. We are a botched snap and 2 different fourth down conversions or stops away from being 13-0 and undefeated.
You know what's fascinating? And I'm going to let you talk, Steel Fires, because I see you got something. But I was just thinking about this when we were doing the intro. You could make a case that our 3 losses are arguably the 3 worst teams that we've played this year. I guess maybe not including the Jets and the Giants. I forgot about them because they're
some Tomlin ball.
They're absolutely terrible. But like, 3 of the lesser teams we played were the losses. That's just it's interesting to see that.
We'll see, because I was just going to say it just makes that Indianapolis loss that much more. You know what I mean? Like it just changes the dynamic. The fact that they've only lost 3 games this year, I think that the only team that can beat the Steelers is the Steelers.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think the Eagles have a really good shot of doing it this week, because the Eagles are, pretty darn tootin' good team. They got a good offense. I mean, all you have to do is just mention Saquon Barkley, and
it's been unbelievable.
And we've already seen that Pittsburgh is subject to giving up the run and giving up those big chunk plays. And I'm going to tell you right now, man, if Saquon Barkley is running up and down the field, it's going to be a Philadelphia kind of day.
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook game 2.0.
All right.
No,
all right. Easy there, guys. We are still the fourth. We are still fourth in the league in rushing defense. I mean, it's not like we're terrible.
Yeah,
right.
No,
but they are a better team rushing with Saquon Barkley and everything else. Not to mention Jalen Hurts. Not to mention, I mean, their defense is relatively suspect at times. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be it could eventually be a shootout. You know what I mean? Where you see what defense? Yeah.
But you know what I would say, that's actually, again, it shows you how quickly we lose track of where we came from. If I told you right now, the way that the 2 quarterbacks are playing, that it was going to be a shootout, could you make a legitimate case that would favor Russell Wilson over Jalen Hurts? I think you absolutely could. No?
You could make a case for that. Yeah, you could. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that if you would have asked me that earlier.
Yeah.
Right, you know what I mean? Like if that was Justin Fields in there playing that, and it came down to a shootout, I would be like, woo.
Right.
All right. Well, we're gonna get probably beat. Yeah. But now with Russell Wilson in, and it's kind of that domino effect. Look at what Russell Wilson's been able to achieve with this team. You've talked about it now in several shows. Hey, the tight end is involved, right? Not just Freiermuth, but Mount Washington is now involved in the game. You know what I mean? And Caldero Patterson is now that he's back, has been more involved in the game now more, and especially with Pickens out, you're going to see more of those other kind of guys, and you're seeing more of that Arthur Smith offense, and you're seeing more of Russell Wilson run that Arthur Smith offense.
Absolutely. Yeah, Gage, I want to hear your take on that because he brings up the Art Smith offense, and I know you're always the guy that we talk to about offensive coordinator stuff, but I just I thought that this was such an interesting game because it's one where you look at it in totality. You look at 147 yards passing, 120 yards rushing. It doesn't jump out to you really, but it just felt more competent than those numbers look. A lot of it was just they got off to a really, really pedestrian start and then had a decent second half and kind of got to coast. But I'm curious, what you're feeling now, especially as Jaylen Warren's starting to round into health and become a steady contributor again. I think you're seeing a lot of things unlocked with him.
Yeah, efficiency metrics often don't jump off the page unless it's I don't know, Carson Wentz rookie year kind of stuff or second year, whatever it was, where it's really out of this world. Other than that, you're not really going to find a lot of those. I always say that one of Ben's best seasons was the 21 touchdown, 15 pick year, because even though it doesn't jump off the page by pretty much every metric you can think of, he actually had a career high in that mark. So sometimes those things don't jump off the page. As far as our offense go, I mean, it's definitely shown that if you don't have a deep threat, man, it gets pretty one-dimensional pretty damn fast. And I mean, you can say that for really any offense. Coming into the year, I mean, we knew that was going to be the case, right? We all talked about wide receiver depth pretty in-depth. And I know that we tried to get who was it, Debo earlier this year we were trying to get, or was it
Ayuk?
Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, so I mean, we were definitely trying to get another wide receiver, just trying to get somebody else in that room. But I think that we all kind of knew going into the year that should Pickens go down, that we were going to do one thing the rest of the year until we got Pickens back. So I mean, that sucks. But if you were going to tell me, hey Gage, we put up 27 points without George Pickens, I'd go, sure, I'll take that.
Absolutely.
I mean, especially the Williams pickup. I mean, that really has made things come together, you know what I mean, with that pickup that they did there at the trade deadline.
I'm pretty sure that Mike Williams is a Madden generated player. I'm not sure he even really exists.
I mean, listen, they have to do a good job of getting him involved, and I think they will because they know that Pickens is going to be out this week, and so. Last week, I don't think that they really thought that Tomlin said as much. He thought it was just a little strain, but they said he got an MRI. So I don't think he's definitely not gonna play this week, and I wouldn't bet on him playing again until Christmas. Even that's only 2 weeks away from tomorrow, which is crazy to think about. This stretch is just insane.
But that would give him 4 weeks though.
I'll give up a seating placement or two in the playoffs if it means having George Pickens fully healthy.
Oh no, I mean it's not. You can't. There's no. He's so vital. You saw it. There's no chance for this team in the playoffs without George Pickens. I'll tell you he made himself more money not playing this week than he ever has the last 3 weeks playing. No, he really has.
That's a heck of a way to put it.
He really did. I mean, because you say whatever you want about him and the penalties and the fighting and whatever, but at the end of the day, he just has that size and ability combo, like Martavis Bryant, like everybody we've seen over the years. Where it's you can't teach that. You just can't. Scotty Miller could run the best route in the world. He's never going to be able to match what George Pickens could do on the football field.
It's the
Never.
Martavis Bryant thing.
Yeah, he's a 6'4" guy who runs like a gazelle and jumps like a deer. I mean, what are you going to do?
It's very Randy Moss-esque.
Yeah.
It kind of, it has that feel to it, and he's kind of, look, I got to watch him a little bit when he was in college in Georgia, and
Dogs.
he was
SEC champs.
Yeah. He played really well down there, right? So yeah, I'm letting you guys give it up here a little bit because I'll be giving it up here in a minute for mine too, so you know.
Army
Did Penn
Black Knights.
State get in the playoffs?
Oh yeah.
Are they the 2 seed or something? Are they
No,
high? I haven't followed
unfortunately-
much college.
Unfortunately, they lost to Oregon in the Big Ten championship game.
Oh,
But they will-
Wait, I just discovered this weekend, by the way. I didn't even know. This shows you how not big of a college football fan. I saw SEC championship. I'm like, oh, great, Dogs and Bama, whatever. The Longhorns are in the SEC now, and the Oregon is in the Big Ten. What is happening? What is going on in college football? This is like when UConn left the Big East in basketball. What the hell's going on?
This was when like back when Penn State was still an independent, Notre Dame was still an independent. Which
I
Notre
remember
Dame still is, by the way, but I think they're in the verge of joining in some kind of conference or something or other. But yeah, Penn State went in the game as the number 3 ranked team in the country against number 1 Oregon Ducks.
Right.
They that game 37-45. It was a really close game. It was some bad officiating in that game, and I think the officiating turned the game more than the teams on the field.
All right.
Okay. And that's really a shame. You know what I'm saying? Because there was things that should have been called that weren't, and things that were called that shouldn't have been called. It was like some of them were stone scratchers. Like clearly it was a catch, and they called it an incomplete. Like,
How about that one in our Steelers game where Njoku was like literally on both knees, and the guy jumped over his back, touched his entire body, and they gave him the 10 yards. Then Tomlin actually got to get a challenge right for once, and it was still a 4th down completion.
right? Geez, man. But so yeah, that's what's going on in college football right now.
Okay,
Penn State
all right.
now is 6th
Okay.
seed. They play a home playoff game against SMU,
Okay.
which is
SMU's tough. I saw them the other day a little bit of that game. Yeah, they're
That's
talented.
gonna be a good game, right? I think they're 10th or 11th ranked.
Yeah.
That's
That's
gonna
cool.
be a good
No, I love
game.
that. I love the playoff. I like that they expanded the playoff in college football. This is the first year, right? I'm excited to see.
Penn State, yeah.
I'm excited to see how it plays out, man. I think more teams getting more opportunities. I think that's the beauty of college hoops, right? Like nothing beats the tournament because VCU could beat Duke. Like it doesn't matter.
If you really want to get a team that is the true national champion, you have to have a playoff. I'm not real excited about how they kind of have it set up right now, where they enter in strength of schedule and all that other kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Look, let's go with tiebreakers once we get there. Let's not worry about factoring that in when we get to the rankings.
Right.
Let's just go with wins and losses. You know what I'm saying?
I'm with you. I'm with you. Now that we have put Gage to sleep by talking about college football for 10 minutes.
Sorry, buddy.
No, I've gotten a little bit into college football as the last year or two. I really like the Army Black Knights.
I love
mainly just
I
from
love
first
college
time I
football in
play.
theory. It's just I think that's for me it's a sport where
Thanks.
it's a sport where you have to have like blood ties to it of like oh, this is like my my grandpa's like alma mater, like whatever. And I just don't have that. College athletics in my family, it was all pro sports. So I just never, because I'm from the Northeast, no one has a college football team in, Connecticut. Like, what do we got UConn Huskies, I mean, for
UConn.
basketball. Yeah, but no one, no one cares about football, UConn football.
My whole family is Steeler fans, so it's always been Steelers, everything Steelers, and so like anytime that I've wanted to like kind of dip my toe in the college football waters, it was always Pitt and Penn State. where it was. And then a certain thing happened with Penn State that made me not want to watch football.
Okay, so here's the question that's on my mind. Now that we're officially warmed up here and cooking, this is
like our Steelers offense.
Absolutely. Okay.
Like you all should be going over to patreon.com/5SMU to get signed up so you can be cooking right along with us.
Do it. Join the Discord server. You get to listen to me be absolutely unhinged 24 hours a day. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's worth it alone.
Okay. When I'm talking about confidence level in terms of like you could actually see this team, getting to the AFC Championship game or beyond, I think we all would agree, yes, that we feel for the first time in a while somewhat confident, right? That that's a possibility.
All things through Kansas City.
Sure, but I mean, you can see it happening, right? You don't feel like it's Kenny Pickett days where it's like I can't see this possibly happening.
Well, we wouldn't even be having this conversation if it was still Kenny Pickett.
My point exactly. So, here's the question. This is already at 10-3. This is the Steelers' best season since ... That's my question.
Yeah.
That like what how long like I was thinking about it today. It's like I think that I would have to say that this is the highest confidence level I've had in the Pittsburgh Steelers being a real contender since at least 2017. I think that like the Shazier year before the Shazier injury, like I think that was the last time I really felt like, no, we got something here. And I kind of feel that way again, and it's been a long time. Most of my adulthood, young adulthood, until that point, I felt that way most years, you know, because we had Ben, we had the defense, and whatever. But it's been a long stretch now of like being kind of like, I don't really, you know, I'm not buying us, but I'm buying us now, and I think it's the most I bought us since 2017. Go ahead, Gage.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that it's fine. I'm the youngest one in this call, I'm pretty sure. And I'm actually going to go back farther than you. Is that this is the most comfortable in a team that I've been since,
Say it.
I'm going to go with 2010.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. You're already believing in this team more than you believed in any Killer Bees team. I think that's
Man,
you're gonna
all
tell
right.
me
This is
that
like-
that Bengals game that you weren't like believe, oh, we're going into Cincy and we're kicking their ass. You didn't believe in that team at all?
Are you talking about,
Not saying not that.
the
No.
perfect game?
Yeah, I'm talking about 16, 17.
Oh man, I enjoyed that so much. I was sitting in a Greyhound station in
Yes.
Cincinnati, Ohio,
Yes.
surrounded by Bungles fans when all that went down.
Amazing.
And like
No.
when Ben came back on the field, he had a Superman moment, and just you could hear a pin drop because everybody knew what was coming.
Yeah, it was like the Undertaker.
No,
It really was.
I had great confidence in those teams. I really did. But Gage, I think you nailed it right on the head, man.
Wow.
I was going to probably even go back even further, but I think you have to say that team because when we knew that we were going to go to the Super Bowl against Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this was Ben's reconciliation game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no way on this planet that any team on the other side of the field was going to win that game.
Had to finish.
Wasn't going to happen,
Yeah.
right? We were getting the 1 for 6.
Right.
It was just not going to happen, right? So I'm with you, Gage, all day. I'm with you all day, man.
The thing about the 2010 team is that, like, I mean, it's a mixture of things. The reason I say that is because, like, partially it's because the 2010 team was really good, partially because their defense was really good, and also partially because 2017. God, this sounds like revisionist history, but I'm telling you, man, those 2017, 2016, that era, like, we had a really solid cruise ship with a gaping and vastly expanding hole in the form of that secondary. We were never going to win a championship with Ross Cockrell as corner one.
I agree with that in theory, and I feel that way about 15 and 16, where those are kind of lost teams where they were a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But 17, don't forget, man, we were winning a lot of games like with Boswell at the last minute. I never forget that Packers game that year where it was just like Ben and AB being like, no, we're just going to do this. And they just went out and they just did it. They were bad for most of the game, especially defensively. I remember they were playing a backup quarterback and, and they found themselves down or tied late. I can't remember. And AB made that catch that I still think it's one no one ever thinks about, but was one of the best I ever saw him make on the sideline, where it was like the ball was like 18 feet out of bounds. I still don't know how he got his feet down. Absolutely unbelievable. So I don't know. To me, I'm going back to 17. I think everything since then, 18, I never believed in the team. They were so fluky. And everything after Ben's elbow exploded. I know a couple people are talking about the 11-0. And like, yeah, I never felt like, yeah, we're beating the Chiefs like that year. I thought we could have a chance, but I never felt like confident. But I see what you're saying in terms of like, this is the most you've believed in both sides in a long time. Because, looking at points for and points against, look, we're 10th in the league in scoring and we're 5th in the league in defensive points given up. That's a hell of a team. That's a team that's going to win, 12 games in a season. And so
We have an all-pro quarterback already. We have a quarterback who's already been to not just one dance and won, but he's been to the dance and lost.
Yep.
Okay, so I mean, he knows what it's like to go to that dance.
Yeah.
We don't have, name me one other player on the team that has any kind of experience in that.
Van Jefferson.
The NC that catches touchdowns?
You like that one? You like that one?
I love that.
I liked the NPC. I think that was good.
I like that he's ascended to the hypothetical one.
Yes.
It's an NPC that catches touchdowns.
I love our no-name receiver room. I love how like Skoranek, that is Yinzer legend territory. I gotta get a Skoranek jersey.
And he's got the blonde hair coming out the back.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
What do you think that is? What do you think that is? You think he's like Nordic? You think that's like Norwegian or something like that? Yeah, I was trying to figure that out. He's a Viking.
Yeah, there you go. All right. That's cool.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, you definitely feel good about the team where they're at. Like I said on the show the other day, listen, if you combine these quarterback stats, you're talking about 65% completion percentage, 2,700 yards, and 17 passing touchdowns, 6 rushing touchdowns, and only 4 interceptions. That's a 23-4 touchdown to interception ratio for our quarterback room this year. I mean, think about that. If that was,
wouldn't you take that all day?
If that was one player, are they in the MVP conversation? Like seriously, probably.
Is there any? Go ahead, Gage. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
That was the problem with Ben for so many years, is that for as good as he was, there were just so many times where you're like, Ben, could you just check it down instead? That became the big problem, is too many checkdowns later in his career.
Yeah.
But for a while, it was like, can you just fucking check it down? Do you have to throw it in a triple coverage with 2 minutes left? Like there were just so many times where you're like, can you just, if we could just protect the damn ball? And it feels good to have a Steeler team where we're protecting the damn ball. It feels good.
Or that is very, very conscientious of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like when that fumble happened that Jaylen Warren had, right? We were all like, oh, because he just never fumbles.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that was like a big gasp, and we were thank the Lord that nothing bad happened because of that per se. But I mean, those are the kinds of things that you see when Russell Wilson does eventually throw an interception.
Yeah.
Which they're few and far between, let's face it.
Yeah.
It's almost like a what you called it, a moonball punt.
Yeah. No, I mean he had one or two. He had two. I think 2 of his interceptions were essentially that, where you're like, okay, like that's whatever. At least one. And I mean, even if you say just one, I mean, still that's 2 like legit interceptions that the guy's thrown in now 7 starts. They're playing outstanding, and they're not turning the ball over. I think our turnover ratio is plus 17 in 13 games. That's you're gonna win a lot of football games if you're turning the ball over and you're not turning it over yourself.
So now here's the question I have for both of you guys. The Steelers right now are 10-3. We're what, 2nd seed in the AFC? currently right now.
Tied with the Bills, yeah.
All right, tied with the Bills. All right, and the Bills just lost this past weekend too.
They did.
Right. Okay. So with the remaining games left, Philadelphia Eagles, Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore, Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Those are the remaining games. That's 4 games left, right?
Yep.
Where do you see this team at the end of the season after these 4 games? I mean, I'm not trying to look ahead or anything like that.
No. It's a fair question.
I'm very curious to see how this is gonna end up. You know what I mean? Because especially now with Pickens gonna be out at least this week and potentially even longer, right? Where do you see this team at the end of the 4 weeks? Do you see us 3-1, 4-0, 2-2, 1-3, 0-4?
What do you think, Gage?
I'm gonna go with 2-2. I got confidence that we're gonna beat Baltimore. I know we're gonna beat Baltimore. You can go ahead and cash that ticket already. But as far as Cincy goes, I'm so 50-50 on that one.
That's
and I'm
week
also
18. What are they gonna have to play for
That's
in
the
Pittsburgh?
thing.
That's nothing.
That's the thing. Is like, don't you think that that's when we would lose?
I don't
what we do.
know. I don't know.
You
That's
know
a
what I mean?
game where you could see Justin Fields taking on, a Cincinnati
Well,
team that's
yeah, okay.
already
That's
already packed it in. They're not losing that game if they need
Okay,
it.
well, if it's a whole bunch of backups playing,
Yeah.
that might be a different story then. But okay, so 2-2 or 3-1. But I feel 50-50 about the Eagles game, and I think we're almost certainly going to lose to the Chiefs. But that's fine.
I'm gonna be bold, and I'm gonna say that the Steelers are gonna go 3-1, and they're gonna end up 13-4. And I can't believe that I'm saying that on air in on 5-Star Matchup, because that just hasn't been the way I felt at any point.
Where were we 2 months ago?
I know and this was the bleakest I had felt going into the season. I mean, especially it's so funny because of how hyped we were going into that first full year of Kenny Pickett, where it felt like, wow, we're gonna be so take that step forward. We got a quarterback now, and then a year later, it was like, whoa, what are we doing? But I have to say, like, I got to give Omar and Tomlin credit. Like, I can't complain, man. They really went in and restructured this team in one off season, and it's notable. I mean, the guys we talk about every week, Deshaun Elliott gets a shout out on the show every week. Keanu Benton just made the play of the game, and he's a second-year player that's ascending. Cam Hayward, they re-signed him at 36, and he's still killing it. All of these things are tied. Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. The Russell Wilson thing, that was very that just made sense, and he wanted to be here. Why not? But the Justin Fields thing, they didn't have to do that, but they saw an opportunity. They took it, and they're better off for it. If they didn't have as good of a backup quarterback, they might have gone 3-3 or 2-4 in that initial stretch. But now they have a quarterback room where I think almost all of us say, man, if they could bring back both of those guys next year, that sure would be great, and I let Justin Fields continue to develop behind a great leader, continue to mature, have his legs and have his backup ability for a year or two. But yeah, I think they're gonna do good. I think they're gonna beat the Eagles, the Ravens. I think they'll probably lose to the Chiefs, and I think they'll beat the Bengals. That's what I think, and I think I could not complain about this team going 13-4 with this schedule. I think that would be exceptional. Even 12-5, I wouldn't be bummed about. If they went 2-2 in this stretch, no one could say a bad word against them. Again, this is a brutal stretch. I mean, say whatever you want about the Bengals, but assuming Joe Burrow is playing, you're talking about Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow. I mean, that on any given year could be the Final Four, literally. And that's back to back to back to back. Say whatever about the Bengals' crappy defense. I don't care. Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow, man. So this,
Yeah.
to even go 500 in these would be great. But I think I got a feeling they're gonna handle business this week, and to me that's the bellwether. If they get the dub this week, they could go 3-1 in these four. If they struggle this week and don't get it done, I think you could see 2-2. Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of where I'm at on the answer to that question. I really think that if the Steelers can take care of business against the cross-state rivals and be the Keystone State champion, like Mike Tomlin said in the press conference today, then I have no doubts that we will be 3-1. And I think even the one that we're gonna potentially lose is not gonna be that horrible of a loss.
No, I mean none of them would be. Yeah.
None of the teams right now scare me. I'm not scared of Kansas City. I'm not scared of Buffalo. I'm not even scared of Philadelphia.
Detroit's a little scary. We're not playing them, but I'm saying among the whole league, they're a little frightening.
Okay, but the point I'm trying to get to here is this, and I'm not trying to take anything away from teams because they're all playing exceptionally good football at the right time, getting hot at the right time, winning games at the right time. I just think Pittsburgh is playing at a different level right now. Okay, and that's why I have that confidence in this team. 13-4 is not is nothing to sneeze at in this day and age in the NFL. That is a so look. How many teams would kill to be 13-4?
All of them, almost all of them.
And that's something that we also have to. I give equal parts credit to Omar and Andy, and also to Mike Tomlin for drafting the team and kind of building them in a certain way to where it's a much more of a team effort, much more than a talent show, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Back when Kevin Colbert was an amazing evaluator of talent. I think whereas now we have more of an efficient drafting team at the helm. I hope that makes sense. And it's also just that we play such a good brand of ball that just avoids mistakes. And now all of a sudden you take this balanced team that has an efficient style of play that doesn't turn it over and causes turnovers, and you put them in January where that style of play usually translates to championships. Man, who the hell knows? I don't think that we're going to quite get that far, but I think that it's very possible. And when you play on a razor's edge, like, yeah, I remember I'm rambling a little bit here, but forgive me, but like I remember Bill Cowher talking about how he would use the clock and how it was almost a math game in the second half of games. And I mean, granted, that's why he was 107-1-1 whenever he had the lead at halftime. It's 'cause he knew how to play. But you take this style of play. I guess my whole point here is that you have this efficient, kind of ball control offense that we have, where we're not giving it up and scoring enough points to win. You take that to January, and all of a sudden, even if you're playing against Detroit, you're playing against Kansas City or Buffalo or whatever, 1 or 2 turnovers makes a world of difference if that's the case with this team we have.
It does, but here's a point in the Steelers' favor. Philadelphia and Kansas City are playing closer games on average than the Pittsburgh Steelers are. I got to tell you. Mm-hmm. Since Russell Wilson took over, and hell, really the whole season, the Steelers are winning games by points, man. It's not like it was. Excuse the famous 5-star sirens.
I was just gonna say, is that the 5-star?
They're coming to arrest. They're coming to arrest me for saying the Steelers' offense is better than the Chiefs. But no, I mean really.
I don't know if I go that far.
Okay, well, all I'm saying is the Steelers are winning games. Look, 8 points, 7 points, 10 points, 19 points, 22 points, 8 points, 1 point, 2 points, 6 points, and 13 points. I mean, that's most of their wins are by more than one score. This is, and you look at Philly struggling with Carolina last week, Kansas City struggling with this team and that team. And I know there is something to be said about just getting it done. And I have always harped on that here, especially in that 2020 team where it was like, oh, I can't believe we didn't beat the Jaguars by more. And I'm like, who cares? It's, quarterback's back with a broken arm. Like, it's cool that they're winning. Like, relax. But I do think there's something to be said, and that's what's so amazing about the Chiefs in particular. I know everybody wants to be like, oh, they're so boring now and whatever. But they do the job in front of them. The job is to win the game, and they get the ball last, and they're going to win. It's just, that's what happens almost every time. So there is something to be said about that. But when you talk about these like little coin flip moments, if you had these two teams matched up, the Chiefs and the Steelers, like they did in 2021 in the playoffs, where the Steelers had no chance, but their defense kept them in it with nothing but will for a quarter and a half, and TJ got that, scoop and score touchdown.
Yep.
Is that not the difference between these two teams right now, though? Like, if that happens, then all of a sudden you're saying, whoa, if the Steelers are better on defense and special teams and turning the ball over and not turning it over on their own offense, why can't they beat either of these teams that are beating the Panthers by 3 points? I don't know.
Can't argue with that.
I'm buying, man. I'm buying. I think this is a team that's got a real chance to beat just about anybody, because I don't really see where the weakness is.
Well, if you want to get into some weaknesses, we can talk about some weaknesses, but
that's the thing though about this team. That's the thing about this team, is that there's no gaping holes in it like there were.
Okay, so there you go, Gage. That's the best way to put it. You got the usual Tomlin horrible clock management, as per usual, right? You got the usual Tomlin, maybe you shouldn't be going for it on fourth down when you're on your own 20, and maybe you should be going for it on fourth down when you're on their 20. Okay? I mean, I'm just calling it like I see it, okay? Those to me are gaping holes, but
that's fair.
They're Tomlin holes. They're not anybody on the fields.
Well, there's not deficiencies with the player. I mean, I think that's the thing that's really impressive, is that the roster is just very deep. I mean, we saw it early in the season with the offensive line where they filtered through a bunch of starters. Luckily that has, leveled off the last month or so. But, people forget Mason McCormick wasn't a starter to begin the season, and he's playing, almost Pro Bowl caliber play. Zach Frazier is going to be the center for the next decade. It just is what it is. So they, I think the offensive line, and I see Darkshine says pass protection and we get away from the run. I don't know. I don't have a problem with either of those things. I think sometimes, if anything, my criticism of Art Smith is sometimes they stay a little too focused on the run, and I think especially when Russell is feeling it, it's okay to sometimes just come out and throw 3 straight passes. Like, I'm not saying you got to do it every time, but sometimes when you got a hot quarterback, and I felt that that's what they did in that Cleveland loss. I felt like they didn't let Russell Wilson play as well. He was playing well, and they took it out of his hands, particularly when they brought in Fields and had Fields throw, which we all, I think, thought was silly at the time. But even just in the moment, he was playing well. And I think sometimes, we've seen that with Ben back in the day, where it's like, oh, this is a team that's poor against the run. We're going to run. And you get there, and all of a sudden it's like, that's not working, but the quarterback's doing well. So you got to just be able to trust them and ride them when they're hot. And that would be my one criticism this past week with Mike Tomlin, is that as much as I love that the running backs split their carries now, that is nice. It's going to elongate Najee Harris's career. I think, and Jaylen Warren for sure. But I think that he's been so rigid on that, where it's like 50-50. And I think sometimes they have to learn to just ride the hot hand there. I said it in the show. I thought Jaylen Warren just matched up way better against that wide 9 defense against Cleveland. And he just worked better. Everything he did when he was in the game just worked better than Najee. And I think sometimes, you could just, but then again, to Najee's credit, Jaylen was the one who fumbled, and that was his second big fumble of the year. And Najee, knock on wood, Najee never fumbles, dude. So that, I'll give him credit there. But I did think, sometimes you got to ride the hot hand.
That's the thing I think that we've always seen with Tomlin. He's ultra conservative when sometimes he probably shouldn't be,
Mm-hmm.
and he's more concerned about getting a younger player reps than compared to what they should be getting.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like when the guy's good and he's on the roll, then let him play. Don't think you need to be quote unquote coaching him up by taking him out and whatever.
Right,
You know
right,
what I
right.
mean? But all that being said, let me throw something else at you guys because these were part of the bullet points. You said, "Hey, do you got any
Perfect.
bullet points?" Right. So the bullet point I wanted to ask you guys was, what do you think the record's going to be for the rest of the season? Here's the next bullet point I got for you guys. Mike Tomlin, Coach of the Year.
Ooh, I love that Steel Flyers is throwing this one out there.
Daring.
That's surprising.
I am a concerted anti-Mike Tomlin guy when it comes to a lot of things because I've seen it now for 17 years. And I'm so tired of hearing, oh, he's never had a losing season. As far as I'm concerned, if you don't make the playoffs, that's a losing season. Okay? So come to me when you make the playoffs every year and then
Sure.
say he hasn't had a losing season. Right?
Sure.
Okay? That's kind of where I'm coming from. But as far as I'm talking about right now, what's going on and how things have gone and what I've seen, Mike Tomlin, Coach of the Year. That's my vote.
Wow, I'm shocked to hear that. Go ahead, Cage. What's your reaction?
No, I mean, like, listen, if I heard tomorrow that he got Coach of the Year, am I gonna like am I gonna light my torch? No, I don't
Yeah.
really care. I mean, it's certainly not really a robbery by any stretch of the imagination. I think, with my Ginzer glasses on, I'd totally give it to Mike Tomlin because I think like us coming into the year expecting 8 and 9 and getting a potential 2 seed is pretty goddamn impressive, and it's hard
Yeah.
to take anything away from that. Regardless of what you want to say about ease of schedule, which isn't even true. I've seen people argue
It's
that
the
in the
NFL,
comments.
man.
It's not even true.
It's the NFL. You play who you play. I don't care if you play the AFC South. I'm not going to knock the Texans for winning the AFC South last year. I mean, they play who they play.
Yeah, and it's also that to go from where we thought we were going to be to where we had that's a massive achievement. But taking my Yinzer glasses off, I still think I'd probably give Coach of the Year to Dan Campbell. And I mean, that's probably going to be my vote next year too, if I had to guess, because it's just to go from the absolute football graveyard that is or was
But
Detroit, and to completely turn them as they.
How do you measure? I mean, we've talked about the comeback player of the year many times.
Yeah.
And I think Coach of the Year is similar, where it's like, well, what does that mean? Right? Because I think for, 2 decades straight, you could have argued Bill Belichick should have won it for almost every year, right? Like whatever you say about him cheating, but there was about a 20-year stretch where pretty unanimously people were like, yeah, Bill Belichick is the best head coach in the NFL. So, but you don't give it to that guy, right? And that's the same with Tomlin. That's why Tomlin has never won Coach of the Year, because you always just expect it. He came into a winning organization. He had Roethlisberger for 20 years. You don't give Coach of the Year to the guy who wins 10 games every year and has a quarterback and so on and so forth. I do think, though, I think there's a reasonably significant chance that Tomlin wins Coach of the Year this year, as long as they don't go 1-3 or 0-4 in this last quarter of the season. If they get 2 more wins and they win 12 games, I think it's going to be hard to argue because, like you said, the perception, the Las Vegas over-under on the Steelers was 8.5 wins this year. No one thought that they were going to be anything more than maybe a lucky 10-7 kind of team. I think he's done a tremendous job. I think the way he's played the quarterback situation, and as I said last week, shout out, I think it's on tonight, right? Hard Knocks. Perception is everything with media awards. And Tomlin, after only 1 episode, and I'm guessing we're all going to say it after 2, is the star of that show. People are going to absolutely be obsessed with him if the Steelers go on a little run here where they start. I mean, it started on Sunday where Romo after the game was like, I legitimately believe that the Pittsburgh Steelers are a Super Bowl contender. And that was the first time we've heard that in a serious tone in 6 years. So
at least.
Yeah.
Probably
So,
more.
I mean, I think there's a very real case because the Lions, I agree with you. Like Dan Campbell right now, is he like, should he probably win Coach of the Year? Yes, but that's a team that went to the NFC Championship game last year and brought back almost the exact same team, and they're doing roughly the same. They're doing a little bit better,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I think Tomlin will have a hell of a case, man, because people now all of a sudden, especially now that he's the longest tenured head coach in the league, which is kind of crazy to think about. I think there are going to be people that are going to raise his name in that argument, and I think it's deserving.
Well, hey man, big time shout out to Hard to Explain 32 for dropping the 5-star fiver. Big thanks, big props for all that, buddy. And we're with you, man. Getting gym guys to play on the team. We got you, man. We're with you. We got you.
Yeah, that's right. They have 15 injury reserves.
They
on
do.
I know.
Yeah, their
Memory
defense
serves me
has
correctly.
been, it's been decimated. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I mean, whatever. I would be okay with Tomlin losing Coach of the Year if it meant we were going to get a Steelers-Lions Super Bowl. We can finally get a redemption for the coin flip if it goes into overtime.
Oh man.
You know that's what they kind of say like in hockey. In the hockey circles, usually the team that wins the President's Trophy, the team that has the most points at the end of the season, right? They get the President's Trophy.
Yep.
And that's all fine and great, right? And it's this big,
Yeah.
massive trophy, but it's not the Stanley Cup.
No.
And 9 times out of 10, the team that wins the President's Trophy does not win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I feel like for most of my adulthood, that was the Canucks in the West and then the Capitals in the East, right? I felt like the Capitals were always like best record, and then they could never beat the Penguins in the playoffs till that one time they did. But
2 times, I believe, in the last 20 years, teams that won the President's Trophy won the Stanley Cup. Only 2 times in the last 20 years.
that's interesting.
So, or maybe even longer. You know what I mean? So either way.
That's interesting. You know, that's a concept that I was hearing talked about on the radio earlier this week. I know we're all bigger football fans than most of the other sports, but I like them all, you know. Do you still think that the NFL has the most parity, or does it not? Because this is
What do
on
you
my
mean by that?
mind. This is on my mind because of what you guys may have seen. My New York Mets signed Juan Soto, the biggest like free agent.
Right. But hey, how about Sneaky
yeah.
Gaming with the $10
Sneaky
drop?
Gaming, yes, $10.
Oh!
Let's go. That's their first super chat on a live stream. Let's go. Thank you, brother or sister.
you.
Thank you, friend on the internet.
Yeah, right?
We appreciate you. Be like Sneaky Gaming and drop a $10 in the chat. We appreciate that greatly. It keeps the show running big time.
Or to keep the lights on, hop on over to
Patreon.
patreon.com/5SMU and drop a $4 or $7 on that subscription, because you know it does help to kind of keep the lights on. And well, we all know that y'all want the lights on.
Yes. Okay. I lost track of my.
I'm sorry, man.
No, it's
I
okay.
had to lead into that, man. I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, I love that you're always looking to do the sell. You know, somebody's got to do it. I just like
Sorry.
I have lost. I feel like Gage. I feel like you're on the outside looking in. What do you got? What's on your mind about
So-
the Pittsburgh Steelers?
So, but this pertains. I swear, you gotta bear
Okay.
with me.
Go-
here.
I'm
Let me
with
cook.
you.
All right. We got
So-
you, man.
No, so I'm a huge MMA fan on the side, and those are the 2 sports I follow: are football and MMA.
Oh, we were
And
talking
in
about
MMA,
parody. That's what we were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Oh,
parody. Do you
right.
think that there was more parody in the
Yeah.
NFL than there was in the NHL?
Yeah. Go ahead with the MMA. Go ahead.
is that there's a pound for pound list, and I don't put a lot of stock into it, but a lot of people do, and so that's anybody in any weight class, and they just stack up the top 15 and say if weight didn't matter.
Sure.
And so I ask you, is that on your football pound for pound list? I imagine the Chiefs and the Lions would probably be your 1 and 2. Would I guess that correctly?
Oh, you're just talking about like overall, just like
Yes.
top,
Yeah. Anybody
like
in the NFL is
college
just,
ranking style. Yeah.
well, yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think that Detroit's been the best team in the league this year. They're absolutely dominating people. I don't know. I mean, it depends on how you're rating them, because if I'm rating them on performance, I don't know that I actually would put the Chiefs right now as the second best team in the league. But if you were asking me like in terms of like,
Wins and losses.
do I think like if it's the Super Bowl, who am I picking my most confidence in? I would still pick the Chiefs over anybody else because they have the best player in the sport.
So
Yeah.
my question is, besides those two teams, how many teams in the NFL do you actually put above the Pittsburgh Steelers right now? Because you can argue that
those
pound for pound, they're
two?
the third best team in the league.
Just those two.
I think you have to put Philly there because Philly has been flirting with that top thing for 4 or 5 years now. Jalen Hurts has been to the Super Bowl in the last couple of years. The Barkley addition has just made their offense so dynamic. It's hard to I can't put the Steelers over them, and I can't put them over Buffalo. I'm sorry. I know that Buffalo's roster top to bottom isn't as good as it once was, but even with the improvement at quarterback for us with Russell Wilson, I'm sorry, man. Josh Allen is just amazing. He's just amazing. And eventually, I don't know if it's this year, next year, 5 years, he's going to go on a Joe Flacco tear through the playoffs and he's going to win a Super Bowl. He's just going to do it. He's too good. He's the only, he for me is like Steph Curry in basketball, where I'm not like a Warriors fan, but man, every once in a while I'll watch a game with Steph Curry in it and he does something that makes me go, Jesus, like, and Josh Allen is like that. He just does stuff where I'm like, man, like how do you do that?
Let me throw something at you. All right.
But I would put the Steelers at 5. I would put the Steelers at 5 after those 4. Yeah.
I get where you're coming from. Okay. And I understand that. But I think when it comes to the Steelers, there's a certain edge there that I have with the Steelers that I don't see with the Bills and I don't see with the Eagles.
Okay.
Now, I understand what you're saying. Josh Allen, great. But you need to have a team around you. Josh Allen will not win you the Super Bowl. The Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen could win you the Super Bowl, but not Josh Allen by himself. And they're a little banged up on defense right now. They're also banged up on offense. They got some guys out that are hurt that may not make it back. Whatever the case is, they're kind of stringing them together right now. The Buffalo Bills are, right? So I absolutely see an edge going to Pittsburgh with a better run game if they stick to it. And a bit of a better defense up front when it comes to the Bills. When it comes to the Eagles, right, I see the Eagles as more of a complete team over the Bills. I would absolutely put the Eagles up over the Bills, but I put the Eagles at the same level as I would put the Steelers. They do things well on all sides of the ball. Special teams, defense, offense, right? They're playing the complete package.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair, but I mean, yeah,
the kicker sucks, but that's about it.
It's a toss up, man. I mean, I think the Steelers are right there. I just think that if you ask me that point blank, I'm saying, okay, to me, these are like, if you're doing a power rankings article, it's like, these are the 4 that are these are the ones that it's like, it's inarguable. These are the 4 best teams in the sport. And then I think the Steelers, to me, are number 5 there, where it's like, that's the next one where you say they could beat any of those, and I wouldn't be surprised, but I wouldn't favor them over any of those. That's how I would look at it.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I would say that like neutral field, neutral site, I think I would favor the Steelers over literally the 27 other teams. But I think over those 4, I think in a vacuum, you'd still have to say you think those teams are going to probably get favored over the Steelers. And shout out, Sneaky Gaming dropped another 20 in the chat. We are having a great stream tonight. We appreciate that. Be
Thank
like
you, and Merry Christmas to you as well.
Yes, be like Sneaky Gaming and go check out their channel. I'm assuming maybe they do some gaming videos or something like that. I don't know. Maybe they don't. Maybe that's just their name. But check out their channel if you're.
Yeah, check out Sneaky Gaming.
We appreciate you, friend. You know what I just have to say, by the way. I have to get this in before we before I forget. Did you guys see the top comment on the show this week?
No.
About somebody losing their brother.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I just had to give a shout out to Nas the One.
Yep.
He's a common commenter. I'm not sure if he's in the Patreon or the Discord because everybody has different names everywhere. But
Yeah.
this really I thought touched me, and I think it really speaks to our community a lot. So shout out to everyone that's a part of this insane world that we have created on the internet. Yeah, so not to get into it, you can go and check it out on the show if you want. It's a top comment. But Nas the One said he lost his older brother on Sunday and was really looking forward to watching my show because he didn't get to see the game. And before I even saw that, it had, I don't know how many upvotes on it and so many replies. I commented back. But if you go look, and if you think it's still impossible to have a positive community on the internet, then you're wrong, because it's difficult to have a positive community on the internet. But the replies to his comment are just so supportive and so thoughtful and so sweet. And I'm just so thankful for all you guys supporting the show and being really cool human beings.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
It gives you hope for humanity, doesn't it?
It really does.
When it seems like there's very little hope for humanity right now, it kind of gives you hope for it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Right? It's a beautiful thing.
Sending nothing but love your way, man. Though I mean, as everybody knows, this whole show got started because of loss for me with my uncle a few years back, and I went through it in real time last year during the season with my dad. I've been very open about talking about these things, and I think everybody knows that I'm a pretty approachable person, and if I am ever somebody that for whatever reason you'd like to talk to about stuff like this going on in your life, my DMs are always open, as are my comment threads.
Word.
And apparently so is my community, which is super awesome. So thanks for reminding me of how dope my community is. Sneaky Gaming, you are the best, and sending nothing but positive vibes out into the world. So.
And speaking of Sneaky Gaming, why don't you sneak on over to patreon.com/5SMU and put a $4 or $7 drop in the bucket there,
Gage he pops every time you get one of these in. I'm seeing him chat over there. He loves it. Seamless. All right.
Somebody's got to do it. Hey.
All right. I got one more topic. I don't know if anybody saw this chart going around, but if you just go on Twitter and search Steelers special teams, it'll be like the first or second tweet that comes up. It's by Matt Williamson. I had it queued to pull up, but I had to close my browser, so I don't have it pulled up anymore. But it's a dot graph, and it's comparing it's all the teams plotted in the NFL by what is it? Turnovers and special teams contributions or something like that.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm trying to find it. So it's special teams and turnover contribution. And my thing will probably blur it out. But see that top right up there? The Steelers are all by themselves. I mean, they are having by far the greatest contribution from both their special teams and turnovers. What do you think about that? Does that give you any pause? Because turnovers are unsustainable, unpredictable. Does that worry you at all? And that goes to either of you. Or does that just mean we're doing a real good job?
Go ahead, Gage. Go ahead.
It'll fall off. It's just kind of a matter of when. And I mean, like, fall off for us and fall off for other teams in that category are not the same topic of conversation. So there's also that to keep in mind. Is that, like, for instance, I know that we led the NFL in sacks, for instance. We led the league in sacks for what, like a decade straight,
Yeah.
pretty much. It, like, usually wasn't even a contest. But then Terrell Austin came in, and we play more zone shell now, and blah 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 blah. You guys know the rest. But I guess the point being is that it's not like we still don't get sacks. It's not like we went from 55 or 70 a year or whatever to 0. It's a down trend by our standards, not so much by normal football standards.
Okay.
That's a great point, man, because as far as I'm concerned, if you're able to have that kind of a balanced offense where you're able to have more success on third downs and things of that nature, and you're able to be ahead of the sticks, but you have a defense that is able to limit the amount of damage that the other team is able to do, and they're not on the field as long. I mean, I remember last year, the year before, Steelers and even Mike Tomlin was coming out saying, "Yeah, the defense is winded," and well, you don't hear him saying that anymore now, do you?
No.
Right?
Led to the legendary Steve rant of "Do they work out?"
Right. Okay, right. See, now you know where I'm going. Okay, but I don't see a drop off. I see more of an improvement from the defensive side, because as the games go on and as the statistics go up, when they take the ball away more, when they get more fumbles, recover more fumbles and things of that nature, and make more of those splash plays like everybody likes to call them on the defensive side. Look, we have one of the better scoring defenses out there, right?
Yeah.
When your defense is scoring points on an average, what?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So turnovers, I mean, I think that's the thing, is that turnovers are hard to predict. And
They are.
But the thing is, we're not that overly reliant on, interceptions. We have a ton. We have 20 fumble recoveries.
Well, that's because we have a lot of guys that know how to swat the ball or watt the ball out, or whatever you want to. Or Alex Highsmith the ball out, or whatever you want to call it. Okay,
no, I mean that's just that to me is the thing. Like, you can't rely on that happening repeatedly, but clearly it's an institutional thing that's happening. And the Steelers are doing a great job of forcing turnovers. Interceptions are what they are. You can't really predict. Why does Dante Jackson have 5 interceptions and Beanie Bishop has 3 and no one else? Like, and Minka hasn't had one in 10 years, apparently. You can't.
And Keanu Benton has 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait a minute.
By the way, did you see in the post game when somebody asked Cam, like, if Keanu Benton should get the game ball, and he goes, "Forgetting what? 1 interception?" He's like, "If that's the case, I'm still waiting for mine from when I got one." He was just like, talking the kid, punching him down.
He's definitely getting a T-shirt though for that.
Yes,
I don't think Aaron Smith got a game ball for getting his interception against the Bungles back in the day.
No, but Benton's turning into a monster. I really love his potential. He's got such lanky, long arms, and I just love the havoc he creates. But I mean, I'm just having fun watching this team. And defensively, like, I was saying, the turnovers you can't predict, but the special teams. What's going to change? I mean, Corliss Waitman has been a revelation. I mean, he's averaging 47 yards a punt. That's insane compared to where we were with Presley Harvin. He's doing a good job holding the ball. And Chris Boswell, I mean, man, it's gotten to the point now where you trot him out.
MVP.
You're trotting him out for a 55-yard field goal, and you're not even bothered by it. He nails it every time. I think he's just been unbelievable. I think if he has 8 more field goals this season, he'll set the NFL record. I hope he gets
MVP.
it. I mean,
Chris
I kind of do,
Boswell.
and I do and I don't, because I want them to score touchdowns, so I don't want him to kick.
Right.
But I think on average, he'll probably get more than 2 field goals a game.
If in 4 games he kicks 2 lousy field goals in 4 games, in the next 4 games, he's there.
Yeah. And don't forget, he had that one awesome 43-yard punt that was much needed when Cam Johnson got hurt. Big part of a win earlier in the season.
And I don't care what you say, Steve. When Chris Boswell walks out onto that field, that music is already rolling in my head. He hasn't even done anything yet, and I'm already hearing it.
Do you know I get so many comments about that where like people will be like, "What's that music saying? I can't even what's the music saying?" And I'm like, and I just put the money bag emoji.
Yeah.
Or sometimes the fan base is like, "Money, money, money." Like, duh, like I love that. I love that the $1 Million Man song has become a part of my my repertoire, my au revoir.
DiBiase,
And
the
now-
$1 Million Man.
And now I have to say, after a couple of seasons, I don't know how long I've been doing it, but pretzel rods and orange slices has totally
Yes.
caught on. That has totally caught on. People are doing that now. People are saying it, and I love it because it's so stupid, and it's just like some dumb little sense memory I had. And at some point, I started saying it before every half, and now I get people with the comments where they'll put the emoji, like the pretzel and then the orange, and I love it.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
It's so funny. I just have to, we were talking about the community, and obviously you guys are part of it too, but man, it's a trip. Like when I was watching this game on Sunday and I'm, chatting with the folks in the Discord server, and it's amazing. Like something happens and I have people yelling catchphrases at me that I made up, and I'm like, it's just such a weird, I can't tell you what a weird thing it is to be on that side
How
of it.
flattering is that, though?
It is.
Right?
No, it's awesome.
How
It's just,
flattering is that?
it's bizarre, to have
Yeah,
people
man.
being like, electric meatball. Meanwhile, my wife is in the other room like, oh my God, shut up. I'm like in here like screaming about like Warren wobbles, but he won't fall down. And she's like trying to
I love that
sleep.
one too. Oh my gosh.
She's like trying to sleep at 3 a.m. I'm like,
God bless your wife, man, because
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you, man, because when I say that and man, even okay, you remember how we talked about we were off air and we were talking about, hey, I could call a football game and whatever.
yeah.
And I was practicing the other day, right? And I usually have like some old footage of a game or something that I used to practice with or whatever, and it just so happened that it was some Jalen Warren plays.
Oh, yeah.
And I cracked off the electric meatball.
That's so good. That's so good. I
I
love it.
love it.
He
The
just keeps getting new
solar-powered-
ones. I try to give him a new one
solar-powered
every
electric
week
meatball.
because it's like a running joke at this point how many nicknames he has.
The Polynesian pinball. That was
Yeah.
a good one.
Oh, there you go. I love that.
That's a good one.
He really is. He's just kind of this like Frank Gore, like little just Tasmanian devil.
I love
like,
him. Yeah, no,
ball
I
of
love him.
energy. I love him.
Can
Yeah.
we get the ball to him more?
Yes.
Can we find a way to get the ball to him more?
You got to keep it. I mean, they're using him in a lot of ways. But you do, it's like you got the
You have to limit it a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, because you got the
Get
balance
creative
with
with it.
Najee, and the one that I think, I like Cordero Patterson, and I like that he's on this team, but I don't think he really needs carries. Like, I think they could keep him in the reserve for when and if one of them gets hurt. I mean, I have no problem with him playing snaps, but it feels to me like they're trying to make a role for him that's not really there. That would be my only complaint with the sort of skill player utilization.
Yeah.
But and then the other complaint, this is the last thing I'll just say is they have to figure out how to unlock Calvin Austin a little bit more. I know this was an unfair week because of the late scratch for Pickens, but I'm telling you, man, Calvin Austin has proven this season that he's a capable receiver, and you got to find ways to get him on like little crossing routes. They got to get him the ball with room to run because he's the fastest guy on the football field for the Steelers, and they got to do a better job of that. But
See, go ahead, Gage. Go ahead.
Oh no, it's just crazy that he is like you can pick Calvin Austin up and put him in your pocket He's
Yeah.
about 4'8".
Yeah.
But he's great at what he does, man.
And I think he weighs what, 102 pounds, soaking wet.
Yeah, he's small. Yeah.
with a brick in each pocket.
You know, right? Yeah.
But God bless him, because like he plays a very self-aware style, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, the fact that, like, if you would have told me, hey, that dude is actually going to be pretty much the second best deep target on the entire team, I'd be like, get the fuck.
Yeah, right. No, I'm with you.
No, he's
But here's what you need to do with him. You can't be AB with him.
Mm-mm.
You can't give him them little wide receiver screens and stuff like that. You can't do that with him, right? Because exactly with what you said, Steve, you need to get him in space,
right.
right? Number one, he is 4 foot bloody nothing and 102 soaking wet,
Yeah.
right? With 2 bricks in his pocket. So you need to get him out in space. So you need him out on the flat where he can make the first guy miss, or you need to get him seam routes, right? Or crossing routes,
Yeah.
right? Or even some of the comeback routes, or even double moves, because he's got the speed. He can do it.
And the seam routes, it's funny that you say that, because they have done, you know, the last few years, the Matt Canada years, as we all know, that was just that was impossible to ever even consider. But a couple of those throws, the Muth touchdowns in the last 2 games, to me were so exciting, because the Steelers just for years have not been able to get a receiver where he's catching the ball and running at the same time. You know, like
over the middle.
And especially over the middle. But in general, like even with Pickett and
Running
stuff last year, it was like it just all the passing game was like the back shoulder stuff to Pickens, where it's like
possession catches.
Yeah, where it's like, okay, that might be a 15-yard completion, but there's no opportunity for more after the catch. And that's what the Steelers, and that's what Todd Haley, you got to give credit, you know, for as much as he was kind of a jerk, he was amazing at drawing stuff up that got Antonio sprung with the opportunity to run after the catch. And the Steelers are starting to do that now with Russell Wilson and Pat Freiermuth. And I think if they could unlock how to do that with Calvin Austin or Van Jefferson, who had one of those last week, I think it could help unlock even more of the offense. But at the end of the day, you know, this is a team that's trending upward. We're playing a couple teams where we're going to have to score points to win games. And we're 10th in the league in scoring right now. There's a very real chance that this Steelers team ends up being 6th or 7th in the league in points scored. And if you had that on your bingo card at the beginning of the season, then God bless you, because I didn't.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, a quick point on earlier offenses that we have with Todd Haley and whatnot. If you would have told me before that era, you even said, hey, we're going to take Ben, put him in the pistol a lot of times. He's going to run the bootleg game out of pistol with, I believe, Will Johnson as his fullback to the left or right. And this is going to be a really good deep ball offense. I would have looked at you like you had about 7 heads. And lo and behold, again, it was actually a halfway decent. I loved that offense was either the wide receiver screens, just a quick snap and throw it to him, just felt like an extension of the run game at that point.
It was, yeah.
But it was just like a goofy little college offense that, like, whenever you have super talented players, you can pretty much make anything work, especially when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah.
But speaking of goofy college offenses, anybody seen Atlanta and how they're running pretty much exclusively pistol formation this year?
Oh, well, because they have a quarterback who can't move. They got a mess on their hands with that Cousins contract. That had disaster written all over it. He's got 15. He leads the league in interceptions. He got 15 interceptions. And how good does Minnesota look with Sam Darnold now? That guy's lighting it up. The Minnesota, that's the team everybody keeps forgetting about because no one wants to take him seriously with Sam Darnold. But they're like 11-2 or whatever, 10-3, whatever. I mean, I think they only have 2 losses. That's amazing for that team. That just, you know, that guy's a good coach up there, man. That Minnesota are the kings of weird one-off quarterback seasons. I mean, remember Case Keenum a couple years ago, and the Favre year, and Dante Culpepper, Randall Cunningham.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just the Vikings. They get some old quarterback and they stick him in, and they
Ponder made it to the playoffs, I think.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Ooh, there's a name I haven't heard in a long time. 11-2, they say.
Yeah, no, I mean that's hey, shout out to the Vikings, man. I just feel like I feel
Yeah.
like no one gives them any credit.
But-
That's a good year.
Has anybody seen that meme of it shows the professional looking golfer facing off against the guy who looks like Santa,
Oh,
and
John
poofy pants
Daly.
and all that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it
yeah.
says,
Yeah.
and it's like 11-1,
Yeah.
the best year in Detroit Lions history, and it's like the 9-2 Vikings just
Yeah.
dicking around with Sam
Yeah,
Darnold.
yeah, I know the meme you're talking about. It's John Daly, and he's like all dressed, all ridiculous.
Chris Kringle looking dude. Good for him.
Listen, this has been a rollicking good show. I'm glad we did the whole all three of us. I think we were on fire, start to finish. I think it's time to come around that bend and wrap up this edition of 5-Star Radio. So I'm gonna go over to you first, Steel Flyers, and ask what you want to let the people know before we roll up on out of here.
How about that team, man? 10-3. Who would have thunk, right?
Not
Here
me.
we go. We're getting ready to go into and play the Eagles. We got a tough stretch of games. I'm confident in this team. I think we can pull off 3-1 in the final 4 games and make a bid for one of the top seeds in the NFL coming into the playoffs. I really feel confident about this team in that. And you know what? Even if we do lose and go 2-2, we're still going to go into the playoffs. Either way you slice it. I would like to see this team win the division. I really think that we can. I think there's a capability of doing so, especially with how the Ravens have dropped off in the last few weeks and the Steelers have ascended a little bit higher. As far as our team is concerned, man, I think we're in a good place. As far as what you folks need to do, you need to go over to patreon.com/5SMU and get that $4 and $7 and drop that in there. Second thing you need to do is go on over to steelflyers.com and check out this website over here, boys, because let me tell you something. We got Prospect Watch where we talk to young hockey prospects. In the last tournament that they just played, United States versus CHL, we spoke to 7 of those kids, right? And I'm here to tell you, 7 of those kids are going to go in the first round guaranteed. Go on over to steelflyers.com, check out what we're doing at Prospect Watch, the Nittany Report, also the Steel Flyers Show, and Hockey Writers Inc. Please hit the like and subscribe, man. I would really appreciate that. You can check us out on YouTube. You can check us out on Twitter or X. You can check us out on Facebook. We're all over. All you have to do is type in Steel Flyers or Hockey Writers Inc. or whatever you want to do. But just go over on steelflyers.com and check us out, man. Thank you, Steve, for having me on. Thank you, Gage, for being on here with us, man. This was great, man. I love that we have such a great rapport and great mesh of our skills and talents to bring you guys out there. A great show for y'all to take care and listen to, man. I can't wait to get rolling on this, man. Here we go. Let's go, Eagles. Let's get the guys and kick their butts. Let's go.
I think you mean let's go Steelers. I think you said let's
Yeah,
go
let's go
Eagles.
Steelers. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say Eagles. I meant to say
no,
Steelers.
his Philly's coming out. The Flyers fan is coming out. No good. He's a fraud. He's a fraud, folks. No, little slip.
No, he isn't.
Little slip
Look,
there. It's
you see
okay.
all that Steelers
I
stuff
know
hanging
it.
back here, right?
I know it. All right. Yeah, he's right though. Go do those things. Gage, what do you want to let the folks know?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been a great season. It's been a lot of fun, and it's been a lot more fun than I was expecting, especially. I mean,
Agreed.
and I can be too pessimistic at times, but I don't think anybody really expected this. And so, regardless of going 1-3 down the stretch, which I don't think we will, I mean, still puts us in a pretty good spot and still puts us in a decent position come playoff time. So there's nothing to really complain about. I mean, we have some small holes on the team, but, we have some things to improve on, but don't we all?
Mm-hmm.
So I got nothing to complain about. I'm enjoying everything. And also subscribe to my MMA channel, Contender MMA. You can also find me on Twitter at Gage Ryan Video. Find me on Blue Sky at Gage Ryan Video. And you can also check out my my regular YouTube channel, which has some Yu-Gi-Oh content on it if you're a nerd like I am.
Do it.
But past that, there's going to be a Let's Watch Pittsburgh a retro Let's Watch Pittsburgh coming up in the next couple of days.
Yeah,
So,
that's
watch out for
that
as
one's
well.
not gonna make the people happy, Gage.
No.
Good job on that. Wait till you see what game he picked to do an episode on this week. You're gonna not beat the Gage is a pessimist allegations, unfortunately. But yeah, we appreciate that. We appreciate the efforts of both of you. You know, at 5-Star Matchup, we need volunteers, not hostages. And it's great to have volunteers such as yourselves. For the folks out there, thanks for hanging out today. Hope you had a good time. Be like, who was it? Lazy Gaming?
Sneaky
No.
Gamer.
Who is it?
Or
Was
Sneaky
it
Gaming?
Sneaky Gaming? Be like Sneaky Gaming.
Gaming.
Drop a 5-star fiver in the chat. Be a cool person. Hit the like
Or a
button.
10 or a 20.
Hit the subscribe button. Drop $1,000 in the chat. You know, we appreciate you. Patreon.com/5SMU. $4 a month. Go do it. It keeps the show running. But until next time, I will see you hopefully on the show Monday morning.